everyone, Penny here. Welcome to my Healing Garden, week 1. So today's scripture is Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 12. Now, I'll be reading from King James. You can read whatever. The PDF is King James, so I'll be reading from that. You can read from whatever. That's your all's choice. I'll just tell you what I'm reading from, so in case there's any questions about what version I'm reading from. So Jeremiah 31:12 says, "Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, and shall flow together to the goodness of the Lord, for wheat and for wine and for oil and for the young of the flock and of the herd, and their soul shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all." And what comes to my mind when I'm reading this about the watered garden is when Jesus was at the well, and the lady met him there, and she said, "Those that thirst, to come and drink," and she did, and that's what reminds me of that scripture. So let's get into the cover. This is the cover page. And then this is kind of like the title page. So we're going to be talking about a watered garden. We're going to be talking about cultivate to heal later on. This, I don't remember. I posted what page all these is. 11 through 42, I believe, is where week 1 starts. Numbered page 11 in the PDF. So, week 1, my healing garden. I'm going to be creating a junk journal from scratch, and I'm going to be showing you how. Don't worry, because all the instructions I'm going to go over, and all of these supply lists and everything we will go over, it will also be posted in case you do not check out my videos. It will be posted as well in the group. And of course, this week has a coloring page, right? So, day 1, Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 12, we just read. My healing garden is a combination of places within my heart, where the soul, the flesh, and the spirit reside in one vessel, each one with its own space and selection of plants. The healing garden perspective in a Christian's life is needed today, not just for our spirit, but the flesh and the soul. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with stressors and distractions, it's easy to lose sight of our spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. However, by creating a healing garden within our hearts, we can find a sense of peace and serenity, and that can help us navigate life's challenges with greater ease. A healing garden is a place of refuge where we can go to reconnect with ourselves and with God. It's a place where we can find rest and renewal, and where we can nourish our bodies, minds, and spirits. By cultivating a healing garden within our hearts, we can create a space that reflects our innermost desires and aspirations. In this garden, the soul, flesh, and spirit exist in harmony, each taking its rightful place and contributing to the overall beauty and vitality of the space. The soul within its emotions and desires is represented by flowers that reflect our innermost thoughts and feelings. The flesh, with its physical needs and desires, is represented by plants that provide nourishment and sustenance for our bodies. And the spirit, with its connection to God and higher power, is represented by trees that reach toward the heavens, symbolizing our desire to be close to God. As we tend to our healing garden, we must also tend to our spiritual, mental, and physical health. We must nurture our bodies with healthy food and exercise, our minds with positive thoughts, and our spirits with prayer and meditation. By doing so, we can create a sense of balance and harmony within ourselves that will help us thrive in all areas of our lives. So let us take the time to cultivate our healing garden, to nourish our souls, minds, and bodies, and to connect with God in a deeper and more meaningful way. Let us create a space of beauty and serenity within ourselves that will sustain us through life's ups and downs and brings us closer to the peace and love of God. Healing comes when we have a contrite spirit, a feeling of remorse, guilt, hurt, shame, a feeling for doing something wrong, an offense of a hurt, tragedy, life in general, along with a desire to make amends and a humble spirit. When we feel hurt, saddened, wronged, abandoned, victimized, or as an innocent bystander, it can bring on a blanket of shame, a summer dusting, and even a drought that needs to be healed and nourished. It needs to be watered, showered with love from above. When I think of a healing garden, I immediately think of herbs, of course, as an herbalist. However, a garden's basic needs are water, sunlight, and soil. Although the herbs themselves contain medicinal properties that aid and support the body, it is God who ultimately heals us. In this healing garden, we must also nourish ourselves with water, cultivate, and do some spade work to begin the process of healing and regrowth. To verse map, I don't have a sheet for this. I'll make a sheet. I'll share my sheet with you guys when I'm done, okay? So what I got thinking about, we're talking about the watered garden, and in the devotion, the words that we were using. And when you verse map, you concentrate just normally on one verse or two verses, not necessarily. You can read the whole chapter, pick a verse or two to verse map. So we're going to verse map our scripture for today, which is Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 12. And I thought about the watered garden, and so what came to my mind for like Bible imagery is a raindrop. And so I'm just going to freehand draw water drop, not raindrop necessarily, but a water drop. And I'll go back in and add dark, color. I'll go back in and trace some things, but this is just a pencil. This is just a sketch for right now, okay? So within this, I will write my scripture. And I may put Jeremiah out here. I may just, let's see, what can I do? Sorry, guys, you have to give me a minute because, I love verse mapping, like I said. Verse mapping, you write the scripture, then you underline certain words you want to define, and I use a color code system. If I want to define a word, it's black. If I want to look up the definition, well, that's define a word, but if I want to look up cross-referencing and synonyms of that word or antonyms of that word, I will put a box around it with green. So I'm just going to get my multicolored pen here, and we'll go from there. It has all the colors I need. It has black, it has the green, and if I want to really highlight, look up like history of a word, I'll do the purple and things like that. If a word really sticks out to me and I really want to concentrate on just one word, I'll do red, that kind of thing. So I usually write my scripture, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough room, but that's okay. We're going to see if I have enough room in here. So there's different ways to verse map. So don't take it like this is the only way, because I'll be showing you different ways. But I like to verse map. I'm going to write my scripture. Okay, as you can see, I kind of ran out of room, but that's totally okay because I still have enough room. Now, you can make it bigger if you want. There's different methods of verse mapping, different diagrams and things like that. So don't think this is the only method, because this is not. Now, one thing that I did see in here as I was writing out my scripture is that I seen a promise in here. And I'm going to stand on this promise, right? So whenever I find a promise, their soul shall be as a watered garden. It says, therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, right? So that's worship, right? So if we worship, we become a watered garden, like a watered garden. So together to the goodness of the Lord. So we're there for the Lord, right? For wheat and for wine, for oil and for the young of the flock and of the herd. So I see that promise, right? Stand on that promise. So what I like to do is I like to draw I always like to do boxes and things like that. But for standing, I like to draw a different type of box for it because we are standing. So I guess it's more or less like a tag shape, or I don't know. There we go. It looks like a block, right? So what it is the promise, right? It's the promise. And I love to do promises. And I'm going to do promise in yellow because I want, and it may not show up, so we'll see. So I'm going to do the promise, right? And the promise is that we would be like a watered garden. But there was something to do with that watered garden. What do we have to do? It said that they shall come and sing, right? So with our promise, come and sing, right? And that's for the worship, right, in Zion. And it said with goodness, come and sing with goodness. So I'm standing, so this is my little standing block, and I'm standing on the top of this promise, and it would be as a watered garden, right? So what does in the height mean? So we could underline height. And when I do this, I will, the same color, I'm going to underline it. I will come over here, and I will draw a box. Now, you don't have to draw boxes, but I do. So height. So I can look up height, and I'm thinking about if you height, your portion will increase and you will grow. And so, right, height meaning you will grow with increase and portion. And grow with increase and portion. And shall flow together to the goodness of the Lord. So we can look at this one and we can go into more about flow together. Now this is green, and I'm going to put a box around it. Can't. And on top of here, I'm going to say flow together. This is where fancy writing comes in, and calligraphy pens and brush pens and things like that. So I'm going to say flow together. And I'm going to really think about the synonyms of flow together. Think about what exactly they are talking about, and I can put that there. I can look it up, Google it, Bible Dictionary, Strong Concordance. Goodness of the Lord for wheat and for wine, for oil, and for the young of the flock. So something stuck out to me here. So I'm going to do blue, because this is something that's sort of like a phrase or a parable or something that I need to dig deeper into, kind of read between the lines. So the goodness of the Lord. So we're going to do wheat, and I underline these twice. Oil with blue, and wine. And then there's more here, right? And we're going to see about that. You can make your boxes different sizes, different shapes, and things like that. So this is regarding wheat, wine, and oil. And we know that the oil represents what? The wine represents, and the wheat represents. So this is like a representation, the blue is. So there's one more thing, and I'm going to put it over here, is another representation, and about the young of the flock and the herd. Right? So I'm going to draw another one. And this box, I go twice around to give it a border, because I've underlined it twice, so I want the same over here. And then I forgot to put a box around this one. There we go. Box around the green. Let's go back to blue. So something about the young and the young flock, right? And herd. So there's something about that I need to look more into, symbolism wise, representation wise. Okay, and it says, so shall be as a watered garden. So I know that this has to do with the soul. So there is a faith and health connection here, right? Did you see that? So the faith and health connection, I can use red. That would be good for it. So the faith and health connection. So I'm going to circle soul. And I'm going to circle the watered garden, even though I've already have it over here as a promise. There is a soul, there's a faith and health connection, and I would actually put that down here if I had room or wherever. So I don't have room to do the faith and health, but so I should have put this up, but that's okay. So the faith and health connection, I am just going to come up here. Now I'm not going to box this one. I'm going to do an oval up here, right? And I just put faith and health up here because this is a connection. The soul to watered garden. And then I will journal in here about that connection. I'm going to make a box here, or I may just make a list of the cross-referencing, sort of like a little checklist. I can so I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed my rough draft of verse mapping. I hope that you join us for the next couple of days, for the whole month. I hope you join us. And